He kicked me out when my son found out I lost my job, but what he didn't know was that I was sitting on a 5 million fortune. You've been hiding it from me this whole time, haven't you, Dad? Ethan's voice cracked, the betrayal in his words sharp enough to cut through the air. How could you? I stood there in the doorway, feeling every inch of the man who had failed as a father. I didn't want you to see me like this. The words felt hollow in my mouth, meaningless even as they left my lips. Like what? His voice was raw, broken. He threw his hands up. Like a failure. I clenched my fists. It was the truth, wasn't it? I had been one. A failure. To him, to myself. I couldn't look at him anymore. Not the way he stood there, a stranger to me in his sharp clothes and cold eyes. The Ethan I raised was supposed to understand. But instead, he only saw the man who couldn't hold things together, who didn't measure up. You've ruined everything, Dad. I'm not your bank. I'm not your savior. I'm not asking you to be, I whispered. But you're my son. I needed you to be there. He didn't hear me. I could see the hurt and anger colliding in his chest. I want you out. The words stung like a slap to the face. I want you gone, Dad. I opened my mouth to say something, anything, but nothing came out. Instead, I simply turned and walked out, every step heavier than the last. My name is Daniel Brooks. I'm 52 years old, and I've spent a lifetime climbing the corporate ladder. In a previous life, I was the VP of sales at a company that meant something. But now, I'm just a shell of the man I once was. I should have told Ethan sooner, but fear kept me quiet. Fear of being seen as weak. Fear of him judging me. In a way, I didn't want to face the truth either. Losing my job was one thing, but losing my sense of self, of purpose, was a quiet, suffocating kind of death. I thought I could protect him from it. I thought he didn't need to know. But the thing about lies, they don't stay buried for long. I didn't know what hurt more, the job loss or the realization that I was alone. I wasn't just losing my career. I was losing my son's respect, his trust. I could hardly look at myself in the mirror anymore. What kind of man had I become? A fraud. A failure. The cold motel room had nothing in it but stale air and old furniture. I spent my days pacing, haunted by the echo of Ethan's voice. You're worthless. You're a burden. The words he had spat at me in anger kept spinning in my mind. I couldn't escape them. How did it come to this? How did I fail him so completely? I sat in front of my laptop one evening, knowing I couldn't stay here forever. The bills were mounting, and I had no idea how I was going to pull myself out of this. But then, my eyes fell on an old, forgotten envelope sitting in the corner of my bag. It was from George Reynolds, my late mentor, the man who had helped me rise to the top in those earlier years. He'd passed away years ago, but I still remembered the lessons he'd taught me. The one thing he'd always told me, over and over, was that no matter what happens, there would be a way out. I opened the envelope. Inside was a small key and a note. In case of emergencies, Daniel. I know you'll never need it, but just in case. I thought back to the last time George spoke to me, his voice gruff, but warm. He told me to go to an investment firm in Chicago if things ever fell apart. I hadn't thought much of it back then. But I needed it now. I took the key and drove straight to the firm, my hands trembling. It was time to find out what he'd left me. They handed me a file, and as I flipped through it, my eyes stopped on one number $5.3 million. My heart stopped. This was it. This was the future George had seen for me when I was too blinded by pride to see it myself. I sat back in the chair, stunned, my hands shaking. Why hadn't I accessed this sooner? But more importantly, why hadn't I told Ethan? Because, deep down, I knew that when he saw that money, it wouldn't matter to him. I had already lost him. It wasn't until weeks later that I worked up the courage to face him. I caught him on a shift at the cafe where he worked. His face softened when he saw me, but there was still that hint of resentment. "Dad." "What now?" "I need to talk to you, Ethan." He glanced around the cafe. His body language was stiff. "I'm busy. Can this wait?" "No." I dropped a folder on the table. It was the trust document, proof of everything I had kept hidden. Ethan's eyes narrowed. He grabbed the papers, his fingers trembling as he read. "You've had money all along, and you didn't think to tell me? I didn't want you to think I was just after your money." My voice was barely above a whisper. "But I should have been honest with you. I made mistakes, Ethan. I thought I could protect you from all of this." He sat back, disbelief written all over his face. "So what? Now you're rich. Everything's fine." I shook my head. "No, it's not. This money doesn't fix everything. It doesn't fix me. It doesn't fix us." Ethan stared at me. His expression softened, just for a moment, before he spoke again. "What?" he asked quietly. "I was scared, Dad. I didn't know what to do. You were always the strong one. I thought if I didn't push you, you'd never change. I didn't want to lose you." I swallowed hard. "You're not going to lose me, Ethan. But we have to stop pretending." The next few months were filled with small steps toward healing. It wasn't perfect. The tension between us didn't magically disappear. But we both tried. Ethan came to visit me in my new home, a modest house I bought with part of my inheritance. A small, cozy place near Lake Michigan, where I started a bookstore cafe. We didn't speak much at first. But slowly, we began to rebuild. Not with money, not with grand gestures, but with honesty. One evening, as we sat together on the porch, I looked at him. "I wasn't proud of myself, Ethan. But I'm proud of you. And I'm sorry for keeping secrets." He nodded, his eyes full of something I hadn't seen in years, understanding. "I'm sorry too, Dad." And that was enough. It had to be. As we sat there, father and son, watching the sun set over the lake, I felt a sense of peace I hadn't felt in a long time. It wasn't because everything was perfect. It wasn't because I had all the answers or things had magically fixed themselves. But in that moment, I realized that sometimes the smallest steps toward healing matter the most. I had spent so much time hiding my mistakes, thinking I had to carry everything alone. But all this time, all Ethan really needed was for me to be real with him. I wasn't just a father who provided. I was someone who needed to be understood too. And maybe that's the hardest part, allowing yourself to be vulnerable. I don't know what the future holds, but I'm learning that it's okay to take it one day at a time. As long as we keep talking, keep trying, that's all that matters. For the first time in a long while, I felt like I wasn't so alone anymore.